Alright everybody, welcome back to another turn of Operation Montagnard. This should be turn 11 for the Japanese, which will be July of 1941. One tiny bit of housekeeping before we get into it. The CCP collected 2 income for their rail connection, even though their rail was not up during their income collection phase, so they should not have collected that, and they'll just collect their 9 base income. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. We'll start with the tech rolls, and I've set the tech die that I intend to roll aside again, as always. Improve factories and heavy armor. Heavy armor hits! Improve factories hits! Whoa! Who's rolling? Alright, then we can see if we can have some heavy armor next turn. That'll be very nice if that can work out. Okay. Let's go to the buys. I'm declaring 3 militia, 1 medium armor, 3 infantry, 2 marines, and 2 airborne for a total of 35. Which clears the bank. Let's go ahead and get into combat moves. I have no units passing Strait of Malacca, no units interacting with FEC subs. Okay, so we'll start in P50. 1 naval transport from Cochin, China is going to be picking up an infantry and an artillery from Siam. And then that naval transport is going to be moving 1, 2, 3 next to Korea. I think it's P14. And both of those units are going to be disembarking into an amphibious assault of Hopei. They're going to be joined by one of the naval transports from P41, which is coming south to pick up more units from Siam, another infantry and artillery. And then moving up 2 spaces to P32? North of Formosa. And both of those units are disembarking into Hunan. An amphibious assault of Hunan. The last naval transport in P41 is picking up an artillery and a marine from Kwangtung and moving up to Korea to also join the amphibious assault of Hopei. Yeah, that's all of them. Yes. Okay, so from the 2nd Fleet in port in Kwangtung, they're all going to come out. The battle cruiser is moving north 1 space to P32, where it's going to bombard Hunan. The 2 battleships are moving up to P14 to bombard Hopei. Okay, that's all the naval transports down here. Everything else is doing non-combats. From Anam Tonkin, 2 fighters and a tactical bomber are flying over to Hunan and joining that assault. From Kwangtung, 1 marine and 1 cavalry are just walking north across the border. And then from P14, we have 1 naval transport that is going to be doing a combat movement. He's moving over to P15, picking up just 2 infantry from Kyushu, and then moving back into P14, and then one of those infantry is going to assault Shangtung, and the other is going to be joining Hopei. And then one Marine from Tokyo is going to be boarding a destroyer and moving over to P-14 and amphibiously assaulting Shangtung as well. Also from Japan, one airborne infantry is boarding a transport plane and flying 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going to capture Szechuan. And the Strat bomber that remains in Japan and Kyushu is flying to Hunan and just going to carpet bomb from there. The fighter from Nanking is flying into Hunan. The fighter from the only fighter from Beiping is flying into Shangtung. The two tactical bombers are both gonna just attack Hopei. Really don't want to take excess casualties there. And then the strategic bomber from Beiping is going to fly over to Xinjiang and strategic bomb the rail. They will still have a connection next turn, but only one, unless they repair it. Okay, and that should be all of the combat moves declared. Everything else will be non-combat movement. So I want to point out that this heavy cruiser in P-14 that started in P-14 is not going to be participating in the bombardment of Hopei. He's going to be going in port later, so he doesn't want to do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and start adjudicating these battles. We'll do north to south. Hopei has 2 battleships firing at 4 for bombard. 1 does hit, so that is that battle cleaned up. Excellent. I feel like I didn't do this right. I'm missing something somewhere. There's not enough units here to defend. I would like to add a unit to that amphibious assault if that's going to be allowed. I can't reinforce after that. Whatever. We'll just move on. We'll deal with it later. Let's move south to Shangtung. There's no bombards, no first strikes. I will go ahead and roll the fighter. Miss. Infantry class at 2. Hit. I won't roll the other infantry class. And then he has a militia at 2. That's a miss. Okay, so Shangtung is captured at no loss. And Hunan has a battle cruiser bombarding at 3. Oh boy, if only it was a battleship. And then our aircraft. We have carpet bombs. No carpet bomb hits. We have 3 fighters and 1 tactical bomber present. That's 2 hits from fighters. 3 hits total, but don't need more than that. And then we'll be rolling just 2 infantry in defense. Of course, 2 hits. So the amphibiously assaulting infantry has to be selected, and then the second hit will go on the cavalry, I guess. And then an artillery and a marine survives in Hunan. Okay, that's the combats done. So at the end of the combat phase, the two fighters and the tactical bomber, which came from Adam Tonkin, 1-2, are flying 3-4 into P41. Oh, I did have that marked as a combat move for these carriers to come out and come into P41 to catch those. I have it marked in green for combat instead of blue for non-combat. So that's going to be those aircraft landed in P41. I'll clean it up in a bit. A fighter that flew from Nanking into Hunan is flying 1-2-3 to Siam. Yeah. The strategic bomber from Hunan is flying 1-2-3-4-5-6 to Beiping. The transport plane from Sichuan is returning to Beiping. Both tactical bombers that participated in the combat in Hopei are going to Beiping. The strategic bomber from Xinjiang is going to Beiping. And the fighter from Shantung is going to Korea. That will be all of the aircraft landings. So let's get into the non-combat movement. I didn't roll for the rail damage here. The only possible outcome is that the bomber gets to fly home and 2 damage is applied to the rail. Alright, so non-combat movements. Both heavy cruisers that are available are going to be going in port in Rihe. One of them started in P14, the other started in port in Kwangtung. The 2 coastal submarines in P50 are moving south into P49. And the seaplane from Formosa is flying to Siam. Oh boy. Really didn't want to lose 2 units again. So then the last naval transport in P14 is going to come out to P15, pick up airborne and infantry, and then non-combat back to P14 and deposit those units in Beiping. I guess the Marine will just non-combat to Rihe, because I didn't declare it as part of the amphibious assault. And that should be all of the movement. Yes, I think it is. Alright, that might be okay. Maybe. We'll see. Hopefully. Okay. And with that, I should be available to place units. Collect income. So the income, I didn't actually capture the territories that. There. Okay, so then collecting income, I should collect all 6 coastal territories and a base income of 30. Alright, then placing buys, I'll be placing the airborne both in Tokyo. Two Marines and 3 infantry in Kyushu. A medium tank in Rihi. A militia in Kwangtung. A militia in Korea. And a militia in Tokyo. With that, I should be able to pass the board state off as it is to Tactical for his next British Commonwealth move. Before I do that, I will, as always, go through a quick rundown of where all the units are of mine on the board. For tactical's sake, if you don't need to keep watching, then yeah, don't keep watching. Okay, starting south to north. In P-59, there are 2 coastal submarines. In P-50, there are 3 submarines and 2 light cruisers. In P-41, there are 2 destroyers, 1 TBD, 1 light carrier, 1 fleet carrier, 2 fighters, and a tactical bomber. In P-32, there's 1 battle cruiser and 1 naval transport. I don't have to worry about him staying out. He's safe. In Kwangtung, we have 1 militia, 2 marines, 1 mountain infantry, and 4 artillery. In Siam, we have a fighter, a seaplane, and a militia. In Hunan, we have a marine and an artillery. Nanking has 2 militia. Shantung has an infantry and the marines. Hopei has marines, 2 infantry, 2 artillery. Szechuan has 1 airborne. Oh, yeah, dude, I did also capture that, but it's not worth any money. Beiping has 3 infantry, 2 militia, an airborne, 2 tactical bombers, 2 strategic bombers, and a transport plane. Rihi has 1 marine, 1 artillery, 1 motor infantry, 1 medium tank, 4 heavy cruisers in port. Korea has a fighter and a militia. There's nothing else in Manchuria or any of China. P-14 has 2 naval transports, 2 TBDs, make that 4 naval transports, 2 TBDs, 2 destroyers, and 2 battleships. They'll get a fleet marker. Japan has 2 marines and 3 infantry in Kyushu, and 2 airborne and a militia in Tokyo. And then, as always, there's the standard retinue of island territories with militia. That would be, as always, the Kuril, Volcano, Bonin, Marshall, Caroline Islands, and then Palau. I think that's it. Yep. Okay, and with that, everything should be ready to be passed off, and best of luck on your next rolls.